guns for as long as possible. We call him Doc. Welcome to Combat Movies. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seaver.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, I got a loaded show today. Hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy chief. Lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round April of 2006. Took over 100 pieces of shrapnel, had my last rites read to me, and I am on life number 2. Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a guest today. We're going to talk about a show, PTSD in combat. Where does it fit in life, or does it? We're also going to push his show, his upcoming show. It's in the works. You got a sneak peek on Facebook Live. You got a sneak peek in Combat Vet Vision on Facebook. Check it out. It's called The Field Op. But we're going to get into that too. But hey, I want to thank my guest, which is Francisco Carrera, a good friend of mine, and a U.S. Marine, retired. And he is currently out of country and enjoying life and doing some really cool things in the safety world. But maybe he'll get into that a little bit. But hey, let's talk about this show, man. We're going to talk about PTSD and combat and where does it fit in life. And for me, when I talk about the bottom line of it, it only fits amongst ourselves that are combat vets that have PTSD, that are moving forward in that direction together. And in a lot of ways, you can't really express it in your job. You can't really express it in to the family. You can't really express it on, the terms. And where does the combat transition into society where we can actually have a job based off of our experience in the military? It's very hard to translate that into a payment of a job that keeps us with our peers, for one, and then to be able to say, hey, I went to combat and I did this and this. Sometimes it's just like meaningless amongst society, where our society doesn't deal with the violence, the necessary evils, all that stuff. So Francisco, hey, thanks for being on my show, man. Let's talk a little bit. He's been on my show before, just so you know. If you look back at some of my shows, you can find his story, a lot of details about what you bring to the table, and just cover a little bit of that real quick, and talk about combat and where it fits in PTSD and society, man, in our life.
Hey, Aaron, thanks for having me once again. It's always a treat being able to come on your show and share a little piece of me with the rest of your audience. So thanks a lot, and I appreciate also Sitch Radio for everything that they do as well. So yeah, it's PTSD. It's a subject that's very near and dear to both you and me, and as well as our family. So it's a great analogy when you said, hey, where does it all fit? Does it fit? Those are the things that we have to walk that very that subject, especially in the workplace, very lightly, because it's how, at what point, where how much can you share in that work environment. Now, you mentioned, I'm doing this job and I'm working for a government contractor, and there's a lot of like-minded individuals in the workplace, a lot of veterans, that I work with. So quite a few. So I guess in that environment, I guess you can share and be open about it. As a matter of fact, I run the veterans, I guess, group for, I established a veterans group here because, Raytheon is who I work for. They're big on veterans and such. So they have this thing called Ray Vets. And so I started a chapter here in Qatar where I'm working at. But so getting back to what I was saying, you can share in that group, say, hey, I have this, and people that they understand, because we've, even some of them may not have been to combat, but they understand that, oh yeah, that comes with the job and so on and so forth. But in a regular civilian, like in my previous job, where I was one but of maybe 2 or 3 people that were in the service, and those people were older, much older, different generation. you know, I was kind of like, if I was having an issue, you know, I didn't have anybody else to confide, but my, the group had, warrior built or with my wife. So because you don't want to be deemed that, hey, there's the, oh, there goes by the ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? So
Right. And we talk about that, right? Everybody's afraid that we're might be a ticking time bomb. But if
yeah,
you are engaged in your life, in going to warrior groups, in you talked about warrior built, being around other combat vets and doing subject matter and going out and doing races and being involved with yourself and understanding that, hey, this is a place where I can release a lot of that. Are you a liability or are you a positive influencer to the mission? I mean, obviously, everyone's always thinking we're ticking time bombs, but I look at the police department and all these other departments of things that face danger every day. They don't get to, do we get to say that we have PTSD to our employers straight out? No. A lot of times, do we have to find help otherwise? But are we necessarily a threat, or are we a force multiplier because we are more aware? We constantly think of the dangers on a different level. We look at things differently. Um, I I tend to think of myself as a bigger asset to anything uh, than 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 the ticking time bomb. But you're right, the ticking time bomb. There's plenty of examples of that, but most of it is because there's drinking, drugs, a lot of mismanagement of yourself, that builds up to that. What do you think on that?
you know, um, it's it's one of those things that how is it that you cope uh, before you knew, if you even thought about it. Um, I remember coming up through the ranks, and there was no such thing as having mental issues. I mean, that was pretty common. No such thing. You know what I mean? Uh,
Oh yeah.
just where now it's more open, and we know things. Well, back in the day, I remember going through. They called it fog of war. That was another name for it. Shell shock was that's a World War II terminology. uh, what's the other one for from the Vietnam era? So we call this now PTSD, and it's more talked about, and I guess it's more out in the air. However, you also have to, it's when you're filling out that application. Here's a good example. You're applying for jobs all over, and hey, do you have, are you part of the, are you a protected veteran? Da da da, this and that, and then you yes, I'm protect, because you want to get those credits, those preference points. But the next question is, the next screen over. Hey, do you have any, for disability purposes? Do you have any any of these things, diabetes, that certain things, and mental health, PTSD. It's like, so at what point, because they're trying to be what is it, that diversified is the big word that we they're using right now, jobs are using right now. But it's at what point, because I think about that, it's like, man, if I check this, is this going to put me out of a job? You know what I mean? So those are the things that I'm sure that everybody here who's transitioned now and is in the private sector, they, these are things that you consider. Well, how much can I share? And if I do, am I gonna get put in that category automatically as, well, we got to hire him. However, we also got to keep an eye on them, because can this person, do they have any issues and whatever? And that's not the least. I mean, we all carry our mask. That's when I was going through intensive outpatient program, you know, we all carry this mask, and in the outside is smiling, but in the inside, you see something totally, completely different, you know. So it doesn't necessarily that this person is about to crack or whatever. It's just after everything is quiet and we get back to our houses, that's when when your mind, and we're back inside in that in here, and that's the worst place to be. I mean, I don't even want to be in here when I'm at my worst. This is the I'll do anything to stay out of there, out of my head, because that's what that's when the ruminating and this and that. That's when it occurs. So
Definitely. Definitely. So, again, it goes back to, where does it fit in society? It only fits with ourselves and how we treat it. And obviously it's getting out in the air more. You've talked about that. And, we're still losing 22 a day because somebody isn't talking enough, or somebody isn't involved enough. And it's hard to say where that, crosses over. And obviously, like, I've seen you do amazing things to stay out of your head. But I've also seen you do amazing things to cope better. And, um, you're a mentor of mine in a lot of ways. And, so, it's awesome to hear your spirit, your motivation to your podcast coming up, all these cool things, and I've seen you struggle really hard. I've seen you cry. I've seen you laugh. Uh, I've seen you, uh, push guys into better places too, getting guys jobs. Um, you know, all around, you could say a lot of good things about you, with a lot of different things. And, but our struggles are real, but we don't share them with anybody outside of necessarily our circle sometimes. And, it's interesting that we can't all the time, um, or we can't talk about things that are so messed up that we've seen or done or been part of, because it just doesn't have a place. It doesn't have a place with our family. It doesn't have a place even in our own minds, like you said. Because I agree. I don't go there. I don't want to go there. Um, Maybe I do a lot to avoid that myself too. But,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
self avoidance is it's a coping mechanism. I think, we can't necessarily say that service members, or I think it's a human thing to do. It's just avoidance, not going to that dark spot. And it's lack of education. Even though there is a lot of information out there about PTSD, and and certain movies um, have, I guess, helped a little bit, with the to highlight that topic a little bit more. um, but still, it, people know what they know, so employers can only know so much. And sometimes on the other side of the spectrum, movies, and they know it's from what they've seen in movies. And sometimes things that we and I'm just talking about service members, I guess, things that our group, I'm just specifically talking about our group, that we do to also hurt our community, in the sense that there are people who, because of what their struggles and the things that they've been exposed to, whether combat or not. Because think about it, PTSD, it's not only the things that happen to us or seen while we were in the service. We also bring baggage from when we were kids. Case in point, I mean, and I'm at a place where I can talk about it and share. But I had trauma, from childhood, things that happened to me. So you compartmentalize, you shove all that stuff away, in that one space, in that cabinet, and you hope that the lock doesn't burst open. And then now you're in the service, your things, and oh, hey, guess what? Now these things that happen in another part of the world, you're going to be exposed to these things. So now there's double trauma, maybe triple trauma, maybe some things, that might have happened there too, where not just shocking because of the combat environment, but other personal things that that happen. So at some point, all that stuff just comes out, and it's how you deal, and hopefully that you have the right tools to, or you've been exposed to other folks that, or groups that can help you, deal with those in a healthy manner. Because you're right, and speaking from somebody who's been at that ledge, ready to take the plunge, uh, because you just don't know what to do with just that overwhelming amount of emotions. It's rough, and some of that, some of us can't. I can't necessarily say that we can't, they just can't handle it, can't cope. It's just maybe they were never given the right tools, or even though they know what they are, but still, they were just afraid to make that call. They didn't want to be you know, oh, am I going to be stigmatized, or am I going to be thought as crazy, or am I weak? A lot of those things, So, and they were just afraid to reach out too as well. I know. It took. Uh, I made a phone call. I mean, is it right if I say, if I
Oh,
share?
definitely, definitely.
I had just come back from a meeting, and a lot of things. I just been going in this downward spiral, and I just come back from one of the CEOs meeting, and I was just exhausted and drained and tired of just overwhelmed, not just with me and all the things. And I remember picking up the phone and calling my buddy Scott. Matt Max is his nickname. He's gonna be on my show as well. He's gonna be a guest. And I was just crying on the phone. I said, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I just can't deal with this anymore. I can't remember the whole conversation, but I remember saying some of these things. And he's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just in my office." And he's like, "Hey, just give me a second. Just hang on for just a second. I got to do just a couple of things, but let's talk about it." And I was in Pogus. I mean, if you're familiar with Camp Pendleton, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
at in Mainside. I mean, that's like 15 miles. This dude made it there in the blink of an eye. He just passed in my door, and he intervened. He basically saved my life. So, uh, here I am, and I was given the tools and such. Uh, and it hasn't been easy, uh, to say the least. But hopefully somebody out there, is able to also reach out to somebody, a battle buddy, or something, a guardian angel, whatever. You know.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight some cool things. We talked a little earlier today, and you know, my motto uh, on my graphic, if you follow the side down, it basically says the burden of combat is mine, so America can, and you fill in the blank. And I think you kind of reflected back on that in a comment that you kind of made. You're like, hey, you know, some people are stuck in their ways to the point where it's black or white. And America's not like that. America's fully, it should be great. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a different lifestyle. Everybody is involved in themselves. But if you can't accept somebody for their differences, or you got to reflect your differences so much that there's no way to get along, it just causes so many problems. We talked about it, and I said, hey, yeah, until every house looks the same and every car looks the same, the expectation should not be that every human should be the same. I mean, we all have different likes and dislikes and things, and I think you hit it well, man. I really loved how you put it, and yeah, just talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's like when we've one of the things that you shared at group, is you could have two people in a foxhole, and
Oh,
we each one of us have our own lateral limits. Now, for the listeners who are are familiar with you know uh, military talk, is basically there's those two people. One looks this way, to the left, and within his a 45-degree angle, that's all that person can guard, and then the other one covers the other half. So the person on the left, he is knee deep in combat. I mean, he's sending rounds down range. It's just he's basically on the radio, screaming broken arrow, hey, stuff hits the fan. Meanwhile, the person on the right, like you say, it's rainbows, unicorns, everything. Birds are chirping. Everything is beautiful. So it's that perception. Perception is reality. So and how we process things, because again, going back to what you just said, we're all different. So um, for me, the way I process things, and when I was in combat, it just one thing that would always get me is just seeing the little kids out on the street, and kids crying, and that really made an impact, because as a parent, you know me. I mean, I love my grown adults, grown ass adults. I mean, they're all now, but even to this day, I hear a little child screaming, crying. It just in a certain way. I'm right back over there. I'm right back in Iraq. It's weird, and it's just this rush of emotions. I get all choked up and crying, and sometimes I even start trembling, because it's just, I don't know what it is, dude. Even to this day. So it's how we process those things, and but to somebody else, dude, it's just a kid that's crying. They're fine. Yes, I get that, but that's my reality to me right now. So, and it's rough, and I'm sure some of us, who are still in the, who are here with us and such, they have those moments that they just get zapped right back to that environment. And I'm sure guys who from World War II who are still alive, and Vietnam folks, something just one little thing can snap you back, and you right back there, like, oh wow, that just happened.
Exactly. Yeah, I just got Austin Wagner and Carl Kurtz watching the show with some other people, but soldier vet suicides isn't a problem, and this is something that Austin posted. And just so you know, Austin Wagner is an awesome artist, does some stuff with the Dremel tool, and he's up in Washington doing some cool stuff. So it's really cool. But you know, suicide's not a problem for our society with our soldiers, because we're not celebrities. And when you think about that, um, it's pretty crazy. I often say the comment, whatever I'm doing, because we're involved in a lot of things, and I've been involved with a lot of cool things, and I'm not a celebrity, but I play one in real life every once in a while. Just like I'm not a hero, but I play one in real life every once in a while. Whatever the situation dictates. I'm not a safety officer, but I'll play one every once in a while in real life. So
even though
whatever,
that's my industry, I still say that though.
that's you, right? So you're right. I'm but I've been on NCIS LA, and my motorcycle made more money than me that day. It was just like I was an extra. So I make these comments. It's funny, just because being at Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation, it brings out a lot of different things, a lot of different, hey, Chief, can you go do this? Can you go do that? A lot of cool opportunities have shown up my way, and this, and that. But you're right. We're not celebrities, so we're not going to be broadcasted. We're heroes of the nation. And not everybody feels that way. When you hear thank you for your service, a lot of people may take that as an offense, or somebody just feels obligated to say this to you. You might feel this is the way, but in all reality, this is a time for you to shine and give them an opportunity to learn something about you, because you served, you stood on the footprints, you did your service or whatever you did in the military. You prepped yourself to go to the stars, as Space Force starts to develop. Whatever service you're about ready to take on, you're stepping into those shoes. You should soak that in a little bit and give something back to society as you uh, represent something bigger than yourself. Um, I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel obligated to just tell a story, and not my story necessarily. But there's plenty of Purple Heart recipients that are buried with their Purple Heart on their chest. I'm just fortunate enough to not have been buried with mine on mine. But there's plenty of guys that lost arms. Plenty of guys that have done this, and we're always like, "Hey, I'm not worthy." Um, but sometimes, man, you just gotta tell a story. And I think your field ops, your field op, uh, the field op podcast, I think is gonna be able to, you get to have some fun. There's some stuff that we've done in the field that is just incredible. Whether you want to get serious with some of the things, or silly with so many things, because there's a lot of silliness that goes on in the military, and you know, you got to make light of life. You got to balance it, and I think that you know, we talk about PTSD and combat. You know, that's we were at the top of our game in whatever we were doing in combat, and we come back to society and we still got to take out the trash. So, are you a superhero for taking out the trash? Damn right you are. So don't write yourself off. Just remember, every job is necessary. Everything's cool. So give some feedback on all that stuff.
Well, coming back, getting, I guess, reacquainted with just regular society. Uh, we all struggle with that. I remember, driving for me was an issue. I mean, you're always looking for snipers or just, or those type of things. You see trash on the side of the road, you're like, is that about to go off? Those type of, so I think we all go through that piece. It took me a year for me to, slowly, keep telling myself, and obviously, because this is, after we came back from Iraq the first time. So obviously, and at that time frame, I didn't know I had PTSD, just whatever. It wasn't until years later that you go back, like, that's not normal. Hey, sitting at a restaurant, at the, in the back, making sure that, you have an out and you're sizing up for everybody. That's not normal, those type of things. So, the more you participate in groups and you get the help and you use your tools, uh, the better we become. And by talking about it, uh, it's, and the more you get it out, because we, kind of like we're tying it to the podcast I'm getting ready to launch. We as service members, we have a very unique and dark way of dealing with with situations, that because that's what that moment requires at that point in time. You just don't have time to, like, oh my God, oh, hey, are you okay, this and that. You don't have time for that. So humor is the only way sometimes that's the best way and then boom, you're gone. So I thought that giving a venue for folks to say, hey, tell me about that one time that you were on the field and something crazy happened. Oh my God, I remember when this one time. Because we all have those stories. I mean, hell, even doing fire watch, or doing guard duty or post, walking the barracks, whatever. I mean, I know I have a many stories of just, man, that just happened. And that stuff that you can't, does that happen, in the private sector? Do you have a guy running around the barracks because they've been drinking Mickey's White Mouth beer all day? Dude decides to take off his clothes and start running around, the entire barracks screaming, while the officer of the day is walking, trying to catch him. And he's just there, just meanwhile, he's just trying to say bystander. You know what I mean? So those are the type of stories that, I want to hear. And, and we'll get serious as well. Talk about issues like PTSD and claims and benefits and things that affects us. Um, and hopefully, people laughed a little bit, as well as, hey, this is where I got to go get my benefits done or whatever. So that's giving some, just another venue like your show has been a venue, an out for me to, because by talking about this stuff, it helps me build that resilience as well. So that's the intention of why I'm bringing up this show. It's coming to light, and it's all thanks to you. I mean, I remember when you and I was like, dude, we should do something like this.
Yeah, we were at Worry Built, in the Worry Built studios upstairs in the music room, and talking about this, man. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. And I didn't know you would want to go so far with it, but you're pushing hard, man. And it's amazing to see it coming to fruition. And you're right, man. And we when we talk about field ops, and I think back, not even in combat field ops, just the funny shit that I see. And one of the things that I remember is, like, driving up to this building, is like the largest building in the area in Fallujah. And I think on I don't know, 10th plus floor. On the balcony, there's this rooster, man, and it's all by itself, and it's just like looking out at the fucking place, and it's just like cock-a-doodle-doo, and it's just like chirping like a crazy thing. Everything's silent, but there's this rooster on this 10th floor of this building, and I'm like, of all the places where a rooster might not be, that's it. But you tell a story like this, it's like combat. Did that really is that a true story? Yeah, but I can't tell anybody because it just doesn't sound right. Are you sure it was on the 10th floor of a building? Yeah. So it's just one of those things. So your show is going to inspire a lot of guys to think about some weird, cool things, and people are going to utilize this for all kinds of reasons. Um, just like they probably use my show for that too. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you always being on my show when you can. Last time it was we went live, and we do this so you can see it on my podcast channel, or on my YouTube channel, and here on Facebook Live. But before, we were just doing sound, and we were recording it in a studio. But now technology has taken a whole nother step, you know. But you're getting all set up, man. You got the headphones there, full on mic with the filter on it and everything, bro. It's looking good. It's looking good.
It's amazing what Amazon can deliver nowadays.
Yeah, give a shout out to Amazon.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe they should. Hey, Amazon, if you want to sponsor a great show, Combat Vet Vision, I highly recommend it. See how that works.
Yeah, let's not forget the
Radio.
field op.
Yeah, and the field op.
Yeah, sitchradio.com.
Yeah, I was like, because one, I needed a project too. I mean, this year hasn't been. I don't think. I think all of us. I think as a consensus globally, I think if everybody could just take a pill like the Matrix, the blue or the red, they'll make you forget 2020 and 2021. Everybody's like, hey, sign me up. God damn. You know what I mean? So to say the least, this year's been it's been a struggle. I mean, and I've been using the tools and things like that. And my wife, she's very supportive as well. But, I was like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to make this happen. And I contacted the folks at Sitch Radio who have been outstanding. And they're like, hell yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Well, here's your homework. And I was like, oh shit, homework? I thought it was just, I'm ready to rock and roll. Send me in, Sarge. Sign me up, coach. So, hopefully that people will come in, hang out, drink, bring their canteen cups with them. We'll drink some field coffee. It's not the best. It's 2 days old, but hey, we'll shoot the shit for a little bit. And then, because every good story begins, no shit, there I was. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stories like this.
Yes.
No, I look forward to your show, man. You're wanting to launch in the next 2-3 weeks, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. I got the art already taken care of, which it was with the great help of Vika. Shout out to her. So everything's is going together, and I've pretty much put the now I'm just, once we get everything put together, start sending those invites to the folks, and start jabbing on, man, and hopefully this will grow, and if not, hey, it is what it is. At least I got a venue where I could tell my story, and hopefully somebody out there's like, shit, I think I know what that guy's going through, and if he can do it, he's still here. Then that gives me hope, and that's hopefully what I accomplish. One life. If I save one life, that's good stuff.
That's good, man. That's the goal. That's definitely the goal. One at a time. Because you can only handle one at a time, and then yeah, and it's just I think we should do a show later on, like uh, the quirky things that our show had to bring to attention. Like talking to you today. Have you ever been ghosted? You reach out to some people. You're like, hey, what is your agenda? And we'll get into that. I mean, I want to do a show on agenda sometime, but we got about 5 minutes left here. But some people are focused on agendas, or what are you doing uh, to make money for the show, or this and that. I haven't had a I haven't made an opinion on sitchradio.com or this show, or uh, but I do it for the lifestyle, um, just to get guys on my show, just to hear their story, just to give a platform. Maybe I feel like I'm writing a book. I sometimes hit Brian Colburn all the time. I'm like, hey man, do I have to write a book in order to be um, thought of as somebody serious, or can I just get away with just having a podcast that goes nowhere but the 12 listeners that I have, but I'm going to have 13 next week, you know? But really, what is my agenda? My agenda is to save one guy at a time, one day at a time, one person. My agenda is to just be a genuine human being, because, I'm lucky enough to have survived a combat experience where I got hit with a mortar round and came out of it on life number 2. And, the tax paying money is paying the most it can for me for the rest of my life. So my agenda is to still be available and still be out there just doing it. So, I mean, everybody's agenda should be to be, capitalism and make some money and do some stuff. But ultimately, what are we doing to help each other out? And I think once you do that, anything else is just going to be gravy. So,
Right.
yeah. Your thoughts, brother?
No, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. One of the reasons why I also wanted to start the show is, I mean, I know like you shared a group. Hey, through your story, I live through your story, or I get better through your story, or when you tell your story also as well. My thing is, because as I was transitioning out of the service, I yes, you could go to the transitioning classes, these seminars for people who were lifetime in the Marine Corps or the service, but there's not enough knowledge, and the knowledge being passed it's not the right information. So people was like, oh, I don't know about my claim benefits, or I don't know. I'm like, how old are you? And guys younger than I am, they don't know, or they've never submitted a claim. So I'm like, okay, I got to do something about it. And so I'm connecting all these folks from these, organizations. I have a veteran service VSO, a retired VSO, veteran service officer. Her name is Jane Babcock. She's on LinkedIn if you want to follow her, and she passes some amazing information as to how to get your benefits going. What to claim. Here's the thing: for those of you who were in the burning pits area and in Asia between after in the 90s and such, which I'm in that group category, you can now submit for respiratory issues because of the burning pits, and that's what and even before that. So if you've been having respiratory issues and stuff, you want to get compensated for it, because it will be an issue here later on as we get older, and do it from a safety standpoint, who deals with respiratory issues and those type of things. And as we get older, you want the VA, you want to put them on the hook for it, because unfortunately, we were exposed to those things because of the labor. If you want to tie the OSHA piece in the environment, you want to get compensated for that stuff and be treated for it at the same time. So, as I meet some of these veterans, and I'm like, and I help them, I say, hey, you gotta get a need benefits account. You gotta do these things. So that's the whole process. So I want to connect all these people and get this information as much as they can, and that hopefully they also go on social media, since we're in a day and age of social media, that they're connecting with these folks on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever these people bring to the table, so they can get, hey, can I get more assistance from you? Hey, tell me how to do this, because you're right. We do have to help one another, because nobody else is going to do it. And even though there are, like Austin mentioned about celebrities, yeah, there may be some that are prior service and such, but I don't see them, crying out loud about, veteran issues and things like that. We're just not in the skyline, so we got to help each other.
Good call. Good call. Well, hey man, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thanks for hitting the subject matter up. Especially being an expert in the field with me as we struggle together and
Thanks for
and
having
and
me.
and work on things together. But hey, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, you can do it through me. I'm gonna give you a shot to get that information out as well. Um, but yeah, man, throw any last thoughts out. Any contact information that you want to put out there, feel free to put that out, and we'll go with that.
Well, one, you got to listen, you got to tune in and listen to the Field Up. I think it's something that we can all enjoy. It's not going to be as PG, as clean as this podcast. We may get a little bit raunchy and talk, just some stuff. Uh, but also, we're going to talk about, claims and benefits and things like that. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Look me up, Francisco Correa Hernandez. I'm the only guy wearing a pink shirt there. And I'm back on Facebook, and I will be launching, a Field Up Facebook page as well. I was a little mad at Facebook last year because of all the nonsense going on. So we broke up. I broke up with Instagram and such. But I guess to get the word out, I have to, jump back in.
You have to repair that relationship.
Yes. But I really appreciate you having me, and I really appreciate Sitch Radio, and the great work that you do, man. The Word Bill Foundation and all those folks. So, and I miss them. I really miss them too.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Francisco. I appreciate you. Yeah, I just want to say, thanks to sitchradio.com for putting my podcast together, and getting ready to launch Francisco's. Um, there's some really awesome organizations out there, even though, I am directly work for the PTSD Foundation of America, and do a lot with the Warrior Built Foundation, Operation Silver Star, so many other organizations. Um, Please feel free to come on my show or Francisco's show coming up and talk about your organization, talk about what you got going on. And I just want to give that shout out. One last shout out, Brian Colburn. Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you managing and directing and producing my show from sitchradio.com. Much love, brother. Until next time, Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, signing off. Strength and honor, out.